What's up, guys? I wanted to do a little audio podcast and get us excited, because I haven't given up on an MLB season, so that means I haven't given up on a fantasy baseball season until it is official. Then my mindset is we're going to be playing, and um, I hope everyone's doing well. I hope if you did have a scare that it was resolved, and just I know we're staying at home. Some of you guys are essential workers. Some of you guys have to work. You don't have the luxury of working from home, and just be safe. And I hope all of you guys are doing well, and your families and loved ones. But yeah, I wanted to just do some draft talk. It's not going to really have a structure. It's going to be a longer podcast. So if you guys get tired out and 5 minute mark, 10 minute mark, 20 minute mark, tap out. That's cool. But I wanted to talk draft day. In no particular structure, just a few points here and there that I think are really excited to talk about. So let's just go right into it. One thing I love about our league is that the buy-in, right? You have to really buy into this league to appreciate it for its entirety. So I love the two roles you put on from pre-draft to postseason. And there's two roles. You're a GM and you're a coach. Draft day, pre-draft day, trade deadline, budget. You're a GM for your team, and you really have to take that on and be strategic, stay within the budget, and it makes it a lot more fun. Think about strategy and how you're going to, what players you're going to target, and how you're going to execute that draft. And we've seen the product of a good executed draft with advantages, or even those that didn't have an advantage. If you execute a draft and you fully immerse yourself in this role of a GM and into the league, you're going to do well. If you don't have a complete buy-in, you don't have a complete team, and that's just the mindset I've been putting on for the last about 5-6 years. That I have to completely buy in, and the more I get excited, the more I put myself in that role of a GM, and then in the season as a coach, setting my lineup to the best way to defeat my opponent, the more fun I'm going to have, and the more excited I get, and it keeps me wanting to come back. So draft day, we're all putting on our GM hats, right? And going into this draft, we have to, Dale said we have to be ready to draft at a moment's notice, because as soon as MLB gives the go-ahead, Yahoo's going to be going. And we have to be able to draft as soon as we can. So obviously, unfortunate circumstances have given us more time to prep for this draft. And I know people's priorities are, their health and well-being, and obviously, that's should take priority. But when you are at home, and if everyone is well, a nice, healthy, fun distraction is thinking about the draft and preparing for it. And we've had extra time to do so. So I hope you guys have, and because when we go, we go, and I'm really excited. So the first thing I want to kick off with is just some obvious points, and those who are new to our draft, Domingo and Justin, who's only your year in. Some of you have seen my other draft strategy tips, videos, and stuff like that. But this is a little refresher, just so you guys know how serious we take this league and how competitive it is. First thing first, our league, we value pitching and offense very equally. If anything, I think pitching more so, just because the scarcity of the product, right, of what's available. And it's not like offense with our league, where even though we have 9 categories of offense per matchup and 9 categories of pitching per matchup, draft day wise, offense is not extremely, it's not the right word, but it's way more available. You have variety of different opportunities to draft quality fantasy players in different there's a variety. If I don't hit on a top outfielder, I can hit on a top third baseman or first baseman, or a shortstop. The opportunity to grab a top fantasy offensive player is way easier in the first 2 rounds than it is to get a pitcher, because there's starting pitcher and that's it. There's no variance in terms of your selection. It's starting pitching. That's it. So that's why I think draft day, in terms of the first 6 rounds, and argue this point with me, I would love to hear your ideas. Pitching has to be something you focus on, and should be at least 50% of your draft within the first 6 rounds, or your first 6 draft picks. Whether you have a pick every round for the first 6 rounds, or if your 6 picks are spread out through rounds 1 through 8 because you traded away a couple round picks, right? But your first 6 selections, 50% of them have to be pitching, because top pitchers are going to be gone. Like, I guarantee those worth getting are going to be gone by beginning mid-round 4. Like, there's going to be nothing left. Everybody else is going to be boom or bust guys, or guys that are undervalued that might have a high upside in a turnaround, right? So, like, ergo, John Lester at $2, or Max Friedman at $8, guys that have either a great, really boom or bust factor, right? Even though I think Friedman's a steal at that price. So, going off that, targeting 50% of your pitching, I assume going into the draft that the first round of those 14 picks, 7 are going to be pitchers. At least 7. I can name 7 offense that'll probably go in the first round too. You got Trout, Yelich, Bellinger, Acuna, Juan Soto, Lindor, and then number 7 could be Mookie Betts, right? Or you can argue Bregman, depending on how that whole Astros boycott is going with our league. But yeah, the other 7 are going to be DeGrom, Cole, depending on the health of certain guys, Verlander, Scherzer. You got Walker Buehler, Steven Strasburg. I would put Shane Bieber in there. Like, those guys are going to be gone. Second round, Snell's going to be gone. I think Nola will get picked in the late second round. I could see Charlie Morton getting picked. Those guys that are valued in our price range, in our price list from 11 to 22, are probably going to be gone by mid-third round. So you have to, if you want to be competitive, you have to have the mindset of at least 50% of your first 6 selections have to be pitchers, right? And that's what I take in going in, and that's what a strategy I've implemented in the last, say, 4 or 5 years. Because I don't look at offense, and I don't see problems there. I look at pitching and see perspective issues the later the draft goes. We have a very nice price this year in terms of the selections for pitching. You have either really expensive guys or guys that are in that between that $12 and $19, $20 range that you can get by. But the reason why I emphasize the importance of selecting 50% of your offense and pitching in the first 6 rounds and really spreading it even is that it keeps you competitive, right? If we, at the end of the draft, and we all say our team names, and at the end we're like, wow, for example, we could say Team AJ has the consensus best pitching. Like, whoever goes up against AJ is going to be up against pitching. That's fine. But if I know I hit on at least 2 to 3 really good pitchers, like first round caliber, late second round caliber pitchers, I know I can compete with him. All I have to do when I face him is take 2 or 3 categories. Wins, losses, quality starts are easily attainable. Even if you have a B grade on your pitching draft, you can match categories, and then offense, take the board, because I executed on the top 3 offensive players. We all know that they're going to have those days where your offense, and it's so frustrating, but they go like 5 for 30, or 6 for 33. But because you hit on those top 3 guys, those 3 guys probably accumulated for your 6 hits, 2 for 4, 2 for 4, 2 for 4, and you got 2 home runs in there. That can hold you for that week, that day, to keep you going and not falling behind. That's why I think it's so important to execute on top 3 pitching and top 3 offense, because if you get 3 good pitchers, you're in it every week, no matter if that person has 5 really good pitchers. Top 3 offensive guys, you're in it for offense, and they can carry you day by day, even if you know. And the way our scoring is, all you have to do is get 9 categories, tie 1, and you get the win. So that's a strategy I implement. Just because of the scarcity of pitching and the variety of offensive opportunities you can get in the first couple rounds. And going from that, it interests me how guys who consistently trade away top picks, especially for me this year, because I don't have a 3rd and 4th round pick. So guys who trade these top picks, how they stay competitive. Moy, I'm looking at you, man. Like, you've done it consistently for the last 2-3 years, and the last 2 or 3 years, you're in it, man. You're in it for the playoffs, and I think that speaks volumes in terms of your GM role, because I know you have to compensate later, and I do too. We're notorious for trading, but you execute a draft. If there was someone I would like to pick their brain, it would be yours, Moy, because being shorthanded on draft picks, the only strategy I could come up with, and I put this out there before, is, and it was reaffirmed watching the NFL draft, is that these teams, they trade back, right? They trade back. They give up either a 1st round pick or a 2nd round pick, and they accumulate, 3rd, 4th round picks, or they trade back in the same round and then get a pick later. And that's something I want. I'm looking to implement. So on the day of the draft, it's going to be really great as GMs is how these teams with extra picks and short early picks are going to do business, right? And the strategy I had thought of was watching NFL. I would love if I were, and it's all based on, being fortunate, lucky, if I get a high draft pick. If I get a 1, 2, or 3 draft pick, probably it would be easier to execute the trade if I had pick 1 or 2. I could, right away, when I get that 1st, 2nd pick, I could say, hey, I'm willing to swap 1st round picks with somebody and give you a 10th round pick. And I would just want, again, to swap picks in the 1st round, and I want your 3rd. And I know you're like, well, why would I? There's plenty of value. Like, I don't care. But there's some teams that do care. Like, there's some teams that want Mike Trout. There's some teams that want either DeGrom or Cole. And if they're stuck at number 7, they ain't going to get either of those players. I'm willing to say, hey, I had the 2nd pick. You're guaranteed either DeGrom or Trout. Or Cole or Trout. Swap picks for me in the 1st round. I'll take the 7th pick. You get pick number 2. Let's say I got pick number 2. Just for the 1st round. Okay? So you're getting a higher value guy in the 1st round than me. Then comes 2nd round. We go back to our regular draft order. You're back at 7 and I'm back at 2. So when it comes back up in the reverse order, because we do the sneak draft, so 1st round, you got my top pick. You got 2nd pick, so you got to pick before me. And then I pick at 7th at your spot. 2nd round, it comes back up. We're back to our regular draft positions. You're back at 7. You pick it before me again. So I'm giving you an opportunity to get, of what's left in the 2nd round, another opportunity to get a higher value guy than me in the 2nd round. So the incentive is there. Yes, I want your 3rd round pick. But we all know, and you can't say it's not true, the ones who do best in this draft, it's not those who get great guys at the beginning, because that's easy. That's the easy part of the draft. It's so easy to pick great guys in the first 2 rounds. It's easy. It's those who know how to be good GMs and draft those 10 through 15 round guys that give you substantial contribution and rotation value on your team. Those guys that get solid 10th, 11th, 12th round, 13th round picks, those are the guys that go to the playoffs. So I'm willing to give you a 10th round pick where you can later pick up great value later, and you give me your 3rd. So I'm giving you the opportunity to draft in the first 2 rounds guys ahead of me. You draft ahead of me in the first round because you got my top pick. And when it comes back around in the second round, I give you back. We go back to regular order, so you're back at 7. I give you, since it's coming back up, we pick it before me again. I get your third, and then you get an opportunity to get an extra pick in the mid round where you can get more value, right? And I lose out of that value. So incentive is there. You pick twice before me in the first and second round, and you get opportunity to get cash in on value in those crucial 10 through 15 round picks where you're still able to spend, because after round 15 budget really starts kicking in for those last 10 picks. People are looking at bench guys and they're looking at budget. So yeah, I mean, tell me guys what you think about that. I think that's something that I think we're going to see happen. I don't know. I don't think David or Alejandro will. The whole point is for them trading last year was to accumulate these picks, right? But that doesn't mean that, if they probably won't trade their extra first round picks, but they might trade those extra third or second round picks, get value, later, or and I think it makes our draft and our league so much more interesting when this stuff goes down, and it does go down, and I love draft day of draft trades, so just a little tangent on possibilities, and I'm really looking at those guys who are short-handed on draft picks because, if I'm fortunate enough to get a top 1 or 2 pick, it's definitely something that I'm going to try to execute. And those guys that want those guarantee first, second pick value guys in Trout and DeGrom and Cole, if I have that pick, reach out, man. I will do business with you. And I'm interested to see how people who are short on picks that don't trade for picks or trade up or trade down and they just stick with their draft, how they execute, it's going to be interesting. Next thing I wanted to go into, I really like on draft day when you see how people monitor their budget, right? People either blow their load early and then they cash in on big guys that, yeah, it's definitely a winnable strategy. Excuse me one second. Sorry. It's definitely a winnable strategy to pay big and get big guys because big guys can carry you through. But one of those guys gets hurt, and then you have to rotate a guy that you spend cheap money on that might not be the best value. Or you see guys that say, hey, this is our price set, $387 or whatever it is. We have to draft 25 players. This is the average price, and I'm gonna aim in the first 10 rounds, $2 or $3 above that average price, and then in the last 15 rounds, I'm gonna aim at that price set or $2 to $3 below that average price. And they really maximize or stretch out their budget to try to get, these B minus, B level guys across their draft, right? The problem with that is when you have an influx of B level guys, you have an issue of who do I start and who I don't start. You have so much depth, right? There's nothing wrong with having a plethora of depth. And you can actually, but you have to be the kind of manager or the kind of coach. You put in that coach hat on now. Hey, who are my guys? You got to really look at who's starting pitching, right? Okay, I got tons of depth, and I got 2 solid third basemen, 2 solid first basemen. Who are they going up against pitching wise? Well, I got Goldschmidt, and I got Max Muncy, who plays first, second, and third. Muncy's going against a weak right-handed pitcher, and Goldschmidt's going against a strong right-handed pitcher. Who do I start? Because all my other spots, since I drafted, with good guys, I don't have a place for him anywhere else. He's only first base, so it's either that or utility. And shit, my utility guy is, let's just say your utility guy is Chris Bryant, right? And he's going up against a good pitcher. It's hard because you're like, damn, I don't want to bench Goldschmidt, but I gotta go with the pitching matchup, right? So you have to, if you're gonna go that route, where you're getting your draft is going to have a solid B draft grade because you got C plus, B minus, B level guys across the board because you managed your budget. you have to really be a good coach during the season and monitor the pitching matchups and play to your team's matchup strengths, right? Whereas opposed to guys who just spend tons of money the first 8 rounds, blow them like 75% of their budget, they're going to start the same guys all the time because they don't have the depth to rotate guys, and they rather have an empty starting spot than and not, you know, they rather, if their big best guys aren't playing that day, they rather leave those spots empty and not lose, you know, average or whatever the case may be, whatever categories, because they put in cheap guys that they had to draft later in the draft to fill in. So, what are your strategies? Like you obviously you guys aren't going to come up with your strategies, but what do you guys think about those two mindsets? Stretch out the budget, work around above the average price in the early rounds, average price, and then work around right below the average price, and like monitor your budget, or spend big and then take what you can. And aim for boom or bust guys, right? So I think this was a fun little talk. Definitely a hype up talk. And if you guys want me to do this again, let me know. I'm getting excited. Like I said, I have the mindset that we're going to have a draft. Um, I'm excited to talk to the commish and to you guys. And thanks so much. And you guys have a good one. Stay healthy. Stay well. Stay home if you can. If you have to work, be safe. And yeah, here's to summertime fun, guys. Hopefully we have baseball in our lives. Peace.